What's going on, guys? My name is Ode Osborne, and this is Gwaan with Ode Osborne. And today, I have with me, drumroll please, Claudia Gadelha. Chase, I told you we need to get the drums and some.
I'm working on it actively, okay? You got to give me like a 3-week turnaround here, okay?
We need drums, a drum roll, and we need the cheering cloud.
Yeah, what if I just
Yeah, that works. That works. That works. So Claudia, how you doing, man? How you doing, girl? How you doing?
Doing good. Doing really good. Living life. Tired from work. But
Yeah.
life is good. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I love what I do right now. It's amazing. But enough about me. They already hear what I do every single day. I wanted to know about you because, like I said, I know nothing about you. Like zero. I see you all the time at the UFC. And the other day, someone's like, yeah, Claudia, she retired. I'm like, what? Since when? So you got to tell me more about that because that was news to me.
All right. So let's try to kind of like go back to like the beginning of my career, right?
Okay.
So I started training jiu-jitsu at 14 years old, and I was like not a really good kid. I didn't have a good relationship with my parents. I left my parents' house at 15.
Really?
And I went and lived in the gym for 3 years from 15 to 18. Competed a lot of jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu was my life, was like my passion. I learned about respect, discipline, focus, like all of that. I learned all those values I learned in the jiu-jitsu academy. And then when I was 18, I was like, hey, I got to do something with this. This is really my passion. So that's when I got a backpack with a gi on it, and I moved to Rio de Janeiro by myself.
Wow.
To follow my dreams. And we're talking about when women was not in the UFC, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
when I got there, I went and trained at Novo União, and Jose Aldo was in fighting for WC. Actually, he was fighting for Jungle Fight, and a couple months later, he got signed
Okay.
at WC.
So you were with Jose Aldo at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
So I spent 10 years of my life at Novo União, training with Jose Aldo, Renan Barral, Josia Formiga, all those OGs.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in one time, Novo União was one of the toughest rooms to be at. It was like a bunch of badasses training together. And I remember me, Aldo, and Hannon, we were like fighting for the title in the same time,
Wow.
And back in the day, it was
Yeah.
hard to see like three fighters fighting for the title in the same gym,
Yeah,
training
yeah.
together. So we were training super hard, and we were really like making things happen in that time. And so competed a lot of jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
made it to the UFC. I fought for the title, fought for a long
Yeah.
time. I was in the UFC for 9 years, and
Which is crazy. That's
Crazy.
That's wild.
yeah, I was the first strawweight to step and win in the UFC
So
octagon.
so you were the first strawweight to win in the UFC octagon.
Yes,
Wow.
I launched the division, right?
Yeah.
And then
What year was that?
2014.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's the like we were talking about before. That was the Rousey, Misha, Joanna. Yeah. Wow. That's yeah.
So the beginning of women's.
Yeah. You were definitely an OG.
Definitely.
You were an OG. That's why I was like, it's crazy. When I heard you weren't fighting anymore, I was like, what? Really? Because I've always known you to be fighting in the UFC. You know what I mean? You've been in the UFC before I was born.
Oh no.
That's how it feels. That's how it feels, though. That's literally because I was. Let's see. It would have been 2013 was when I made my amateur debut, and you were in the UFC in 2013.
Yeah.
So
I got signed at 2013. I didn't fight until 2014.
yeah.
Because they wanted to launch the strawweight division, but I was fighting for Invicta, and the UFC bought 11 fighters from Invicta to launch the strawweight division in the UFC, and I was one of them. So they bought us, and they didn't let us fight. Like they paid us not to fight until the following year because they were getting ready to launch the division.
That's good because you weren't you thank God you missed out on that tough house experience.
Yes, thank God.
Thank God, man. That tough house can be pretty brutal.
I bet.
That thing is brutal. So tell me more about what led you into retiring.
So now we can talk about retirement.
I'm trying to know right now.
Just saying,
I want to
like,
know. I want to know. I want to know.
you know, like it's a hard decision.
Yeah.
It's a very hard decision.
Yeah.
And it was like 32. I done everything in the sport. Like I said, you know, like launched a division, fought the best fighters in the division.
Who you telling?
I had really really good fight against like really really good opponents, and I started to like rethink my life because like in order to fight MMA, people don't realize how selfish you have to be.
Oh my goodness.
Right? It's you, and there's something else about fighting that I think
Yes.
it's very different than all the sports. Because like when you step into that octagon, it's like you.
No team.
It's just you in there. Even though you have some like your corner right there,
Yep.
it's only you.
Yep.
So you like
Ain't no
you
teammates.
You have to train yourself
Mm-hmm.
to be able to deal with yourself being alone.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
do.
Like you have to be comfortable being alone.
I-
Because when you
yes.
step in there, nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm.
But you and your training and your preparation and everything you've done to be there. Right? And that's what I did my entire career. I forgot about not that I don't like people
Yeah.
or not that I didn't want to have friends or not that I didn't want to spend time with my family, but the sport didn't let me do that.
Yeah.
Because I had to be alone. I had to travel to other places in order to get better. And I forgot about my relationships.
Yeah,
You
so
know, I
a-
didn't have time.
So a big chunk of your life was kind of off to the side, waiting for you to be free.
Exactly.
I'm going. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now, and I'm literally there right now. So I get that.
Yeah, and it's a crazy feeling, right? And I started to like to feel very lonely, and I was like, okay, I can deal with that. It's okay. I was like missing my family and missing birthdays and celebrations, and I was like, okay, I can deal with that. But like in the meantime, the first thing I did when I started making money in the UFC, I went to college, and I have a law degree. Because in Brazil, in order to become a federal agent in Brazil,
Yeah.
you have to go to law school. So I didn't want to be a lawyer, but I wanted to be a federal agent.
Okay, you went to school in Brazil in college.
Brazil.
I didn't even see. Look at that. I didn't even know you went to college and you got your whole degree in law school, and you were a federal agent in Brazil.
I wanted to be.
Okay.
So like the next step was I was gonna take a test to become a federal agent. But then my career in MMA
Yeah.
got better, and
Yeah.
I was like, I have to choose, you know. And I can do that later in my life.
Yeah.
I wanted to take that opportunity to fight for the UFC, and just like fighting, it's a struggle itself. But I feel like when I was fighting MMA, like in the beginning of like my career, in the beginning of the women in the UFC, it was even a harder struggle, right? It was even harder. So I went through a lot of struggles and a lot of injuries, and I lived in the favelas in Rio de Janeiro in order to like.
And what's that like? Because I've heard a lot about the favelas. Like, what can you explain? What is that like?
Okay. Kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I want to know. I want to know.
Like in America, when
Yeah.
you see like people living in the mountains, like it's like people that have money, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In Brazil, if you go live in the mountains, you poor, right? Because people start building houses on top of houses with no structure.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that, and you're gonna laugh at me when I say this, but I've seen that in Fast and Furious. You know what I mean? But it's so interesting when you think about the different lifestyle from Brazil to America. You know, like oh man.
When I hear Americans whining, oh, life is not good, this and that, I go like, dude, you know what? Are you seeing somebody getting raped in front of you? Like,
Yes.
And you can't do nothing? You know, where it feels like you're being like 18 years old, trying to chase a dream,
Yeah.
and seeing like somebody with a rifle in your face telling you they're gonna kill you. Like, do you know what it's like to walk around and see people like selling TVs and trading them for drugs. Like that's what I experienced at
Yeah.
like 18 years old, and it's like,
That's a lot for an 18-year-old too. 'Cause
yes,
I know age says that you're an adult, but your brain is not even close to being fully developed.
no,
And okay, maybe it's close, but it's not fully developed, and some of that stuff, that traumatic experiences have an effect on you. I've experienced it from in Jamaica, but I was only 9 when I left, so I didn't get as much exposure to that like you did. So I can only imagine.
yeah, very challenging. But all that past is like part of my past. Then I moved to America, and it was very challenging for me. And I'm sure you kind of like I probably understand that or been through that or will go through that. But like as a fighter in Las Vegas, like we have the UFC Performance Institute, but it's
Yeah.
very hard to connect to coaches and teammates and people that really care about you.
Yes. Oh my
So
goodness. Yes.
I left a team that I was training with for 10 years to come here and find better things for me, but it was very hard for me to connect to people. So
Was there a language barrier too when you first came here? Like, because your English now is incredible. Was it always this good?
no, I learned English by talking to people. It's like I gotta learn this language.
Okay. Okay.
So
So it wasn't like a class you took in school. You just kind of adopted the language daily.
yeah,
That's
I
amazing.
taught myself English, and I studied by myself as
Yeah.
well to make sure it was like speeding up the process. But
Mm-hmm.
all that. So I had all that going on, and we can't even go like deeper with
Yeah.
that stuff.
I'm
it's
just
like,
saying I'm not that responsible. Hats off to you for that. I'm not that responsible to sit down and study another language. I'm just like, you know what? They can't understand me. It's their fault.
but I had to because I'm like as a fighter you're a product,
Yeah,
right? Like you're
yeah.
selling your product.
Yeah, you're
And
like you're a prostitute.
well, not that deep, but yeah, you're a product, and you're selling that product. And if not, like it was bad, so bad for me because I wasn't able to talk to people. Like
Yeah.
the fans would try to talk to me, and I could never respond. I was like, this is shitty. I gotta learn that
Learn how to-
language.
And would you say it was easier to understand or easier to regurgitate English?
Easier to understand.
To understand,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I hear that a lot about different languages like Spanish. People, I have friends that are, Mexican descent and don't know how to speak Spanish, but they can understand it. You know what I mean? It's just they were born here, so they're pretty Americanized, but they can't speak Spanish. I mean, they can get by, but they can understand it like fluently.
Yeah, and actually, there's like a lot of science behind that
Mm-hmm.
because, like, like they say, in order for you to speak another language, you have to be able to, like, be able to pronounce sounds. You have to be
Ah.
able to, there's like sounds because when you speak Portuguese, you kind of like using your breathing, right? Like it's
Yes.
through the nose and
Yes.
it's through your breath. And
Yeah.
English, it's like it's a stronger language, and you speak with your throat and your tongue, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, it's very
it's a stronger language.
Yeah.
So they say you have to be able not pronounce, but you have to be able to how to say. Fuck, now I forgot.
it's all right.
I'm glad
It's
they're
hard.
recording.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's all right.
I forgot the word in English now, but like you
It's
have
all
to be
right.
able to say
Yeah.
different sounds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But anyways, let's go back to
Yeah.
retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So and then 2020,
Mm-hmm.
very challenging for me. Fighting during COVID, hating fighting in the Apex with no fans,
Yeah.
and I fought, lost the fight. And 4 days later, I was hanging out in my house and I started like feeling a headache,
Mm-hmm.
a very, very bad headache that I never felt it before. And it was so like not only the headache, but all the symptoms I was feeling.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on with me. So I called my medical doctor in Brazil and was like, hey, I'm feeling like that. And he goes, you have a concussion. I go like, what the heck is a concussion? You know, like
Damn.
fighting for over 10 years, and I
Yeah.
didn't even know what a concussion was.
Damn.
There you go.
Yeah.
Concussion awareness,
Yeah,
right? People
yeah.
have to know what a concussion is because it's
100%.
serious.
Yeah.
Right then, I was like, I don't think it's a concussion. I think I'm dying. So I called my medical coordinator in the UFC. I was like, hey, I'm here by myself. My family is not here, and I feel like I'm gonna die. She goes like, you want me to send an ambulance to your house? I was like, just send me an Uber and send me
Yeah.
to the hospital. Like, I think I can like survive. I don't need an ambulance, but I need to go to the hospital right now. So when I got to the hospital, got a bunch of images,
Yeah.
scans in my brain, and then the doctor comes back to me and he goes, "Oh, you know, you okay? Your brain is kind of swollen, you know." And I wasn't really understanding what was going on because, like, when you have a concussion, you have a hard time
Yes.
understanding what people are saying. And
Uh-huh.
then the guy speaking another language with me and trying to tell me what a concussion was, and I didn't know what a concussion was, and he was
Yeah.
telling me my brain was swollen. I was like, okay, now I'm really dying,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, and he's confirming
Yo.
that I'm dying, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? Like, I'm from another
Yeah,
country, and
of
I'm
course.
going through something that I never been through after a loss, after a crazy fight.
Of course.
And then I started to think, and he goes like, do you have somebody to call and
Uh-huh.
come here and be here with you? I got my phone and was like, shit,
You don't have nobody?
I got nobody to call.
For real? You didn't have one person?
No, I was like, maybe I have a friend, but I'm a little, like, I don't want to call him. I don't feel like,
Yeah.
you know, it was like
Damn.
11 p.m. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So it's hard to talk about it, but like then after that, the doctor gave me a bunch of medicine. I went back home, bunch of painkillers and very strong medicines. And concussions, they mess with your emotions as well, right? And
yeah.
it gets depressing.
I didn't know that actually.
Yes,
I
it
did not
does.
know that. I thought it just made you sensitive to light and gave you a headache. And that was in my head. I'm like, that's what a concussion is. You're sensitive to the light and you get a headache and you have that migraine for a while.
You feel like a knife is stabbing the back of your head.
Really?
You throwing up when your heart rate gets like above 160.
Wow.
You can't see lights. Okay, you gotta be in the dark the whole time. You can't work out, and hearing a noise in your ear 24/7.
Like a ringing?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
ringing in your ear 24/7. So it's like depressing itself just for like not being able to train, right? And I was not like one of a sudden like from a professional fighter for like, hey, you can't do shit.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
Yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
being alone during COVID in America by yourself, no friends, nobody, and you have something that you don't know how to deal with.
Yeah.
Depressing.
Yeah.
Right?
I can't even imagine. I honestly, hey, I give you props for getting through that.
And the medicine they gave me, it was something that messes with the emotions as well. So I was like crying to my mother. I was like, I'm the strong girl in the family, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not fragile to my mother.
I know. You're not fragile
You know,
to anybody.
But like I was like crying to my mother. I don't know what's happening with me. I'm gonna die. But anyways, I had a post-concussion syndrome, which is the symptoms of a concussion for a long period of time, and it can last up to a year. I was very good with it, and my concussion lasted 10 months.
Okay.
And after the 10 months, I was decided and ready to retire. I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that. But I went, and when the UFC doctor cleared me in November of 2021, I went back to the gym and I started training again. And when I started getting hit in my head, I had so much anxiety. So it was like, okay, now I'm sure I don't want to do this shit anymore.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I retired. I was already thinking about retirement and getting ready for retirement, doing my investments, you know, and
Yeah.
thinking about what was next. Because I feel like every fighter have to get ready for that time. It's
Yes.
just a matter of when. It's not if, it's when.
It's true.
So you have to get ready for it. Like I tell every fighter, don't push that thought and that process to the side and think you're gonna deal well with that in the future.
For
Because
sure.
you're not going to.
It is very important. And a lot of people are super naive to it. And I'm speaking from experience. I was one of those people that, you know, in my head, I get signed to the UFC and my life changes and I never have to do anything again. I don't have to promote. I don't have to think about investments. I don't got to do nothing. I get signed and I'm set for life. In my head,
Okay.
because you're younger. That's what you think when you're young.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought. You know what I mean? I was young and naive, and that's what I thought. So when I got signed after, let's see, I got signed during COVID, and it was about 2020 when I had my first fight. At my first fight in 2020 in the UFC, I fought on the McGregor Cowboys fight. When Connor fought Donald and I lost, and I was just like, I was like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be a millionaire. I'm supposed to have 1 billion followers. I'm supposed to wait, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? But then that's when I needed that. That's when reality settled in. Like, yo, you have to really start. I know this is like the voice in my head said, I know this is your first fight, but you still have to plan for your future. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, go ahead and continue. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just saying how, yeah, it's crazy that you were already thinking about that when you got signed, because that was the last thing on my mind. I was like way, way beyond behind the gun on that one.
Yeah, and like that's the thing too, like the UFC plays a big role on that as well. I always had a great relationship with everybody in the UFC. But like back in 2013, when I got signed, they brought me to Vegas for a summit. And
Yeah.
we had like a whole summit about social media, finances, retirement, all that stuff. And I didn't even speak English. I didn't even
Really?
speak English on that time, but they had
Did you have a translator at least?
interpreters.
Okay.
We had like headphones on, and they were
Interpreting, yeah.
because there was like a lot of speakers on that summit. It was a really good summit.
Okay.
And on that day, and I tell everybody in the UFC, that was like a mindset shift for me right there. Because I was like, okay, I was thinking the same thing you were when
Yeah.
you got signed, and then on that summit, I was like, okay, two things, if I can take two things from that summit, if I can take two things from this summit,
Yeah.
one, I need to learn English, and I'm going to teach myself English. And two, I have to take care of my finances.
Yeah,
'cause,
that's a big one. That's a really,
know,
really big one.
yes. So I started studying, and then studying because like, the American system, financial system is
Yeah.
different than the Brazilian one. I was
Yeah.
like, I gotta learn both. I gotta grow on that. I have to concentrate and train to be a champion, but I also have to be a champion like before, after fighting.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. So I concentrated my life in all of that, and retired at 20 December of 2021.
Okay.
And then the UFC called me, and they were like, you have a good relationship with everybody here, come work for us, And I love Dana.
Yeah.
People talk shit about Dana, but like, he did nothing but great things
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Dana, Sean, Mickey, like all these guys, I always had an amazing
relationship,
relationship
yeah.
with them. And Dana said, like, get a job here. Like, we want you expertise here, and we want you to help us. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, John, the one who owns the studio, him and Dana actually have a pretty good relationship, and he says nothing but really good things. John Orlando says nothing but good things about Dana.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, that's what he says, and John's a great guy. So, yeah, I've heard nothing but good things, and that's awesome that they gave you that opportunity, because not only did you have a language barrier, but you also, at the time, when was that, 2014? You said that summit was
13, like
13.
right when I got signed.
Yeah, 13. So you didn't. Not only did you not have a language, you had a language barrier, but you didn't have a translator. They didn't provide you with a translator throughout the time you were here. So you had to figure all of that out by yourself. That I can't imagine what that must have been like, trying to, I don't know, doing simple stuff like going to the grocery store, or simple things that require communication.
Yeah, super hard. But then I'm very thankful for that summit.
Yeah.
Because like I was saying in the beginning, like the UFC is such a new, like the MMA, it's a young sport.
Yeah,
UFC,
it's
it's a
incredibly
new
young.
organization. Only like 30 years old. And there's like so much to do still, so much to grow still.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like I can add a lot to the athletes, because like when I talk to anybody in the UFC, whenever me and Forrest we're in a meeting with everybody else, we go like we know what it feels like being the other side. So we get to help the athletes with
Yes.
what they need.
Yes.
You know, like nobody else but me and him there knows what it feels like being the other side. And so when people are like planning, when they are planning things for fighters, we go, wait, this is actually how it feels. You know, so there's a lot of value for what we do because then they can go in the right direction. You know,
Yes.
the goal of the UFC Performance Institute is to provide the best journey a fighter can have in there.
And so far, you guys are doing an amazing job because I love, all the use of technology that you guys use at the Performance Institute. The ability, it's crazy. When I first started MMA, I would have never thought that all the stuff that you guys use even existed.
Me neither.
I would never.
It was just like when I started fighting, it was like, hey, dude, let's beat the shit out of each other
Yeah.
and see what happens.
Yep.
You know, we thought like train as hard as you can,
Yep.
and that's how you get ready for a fight.
Yeah.
You get punched in the face and deal with it. That's how you get ready.
And it's crazy. I feel like back then we used to beat the shit out of each other. Like with not talking about just boxing gloves, with MMA gloves. I remember those days, like when you know what I mean, when fighting wasn't as developed. Like people really didn't know how to go about with training. And I remember those days when you just beating the shit out of each other, like you're in an actual fight.
Oh yeah.
Like you're in an actual
Yeah.
fight. Like
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of injuries from that as well. But you know, lessons learned,
Yeah.
and now we have a lot of resources and a lot of science to give to the next generation and to the next generations, so they can take that, you know, those experiences and do better and take care of themselves better, you know. And I feel like my passion working for the UFC, because I came in as a director of athlete development, and
is that what your title is now?
yeah, this
Okay.
is my title in the UFC.
Okay.
And like I came in to kind of help the Latin American community to understand the UFC better, because like of
The language barrier, kind of.
kind of like that. So like let's say we are in Las Vegas and everybody in the PI speaks English,
Yeah.
but like we have to think that MMA, it's a global sport.
I mean, it is.
You
It
know,
is a global sport.
30% of the UFC are from America.
Yeah.
And then Brazil comes in second with 15% of the roster.
That's a lot too.
And then we have seven countries in the roster.
Yeah.
So, like after America and Brazil, it comes Mexico, Russia with like 5%
Okay.
each, you know, and it goes
Yeah.
down and down. But then when I got here in 2018, I was like, what is this place? What they do? I don't understand this. It took me a while to understand what they do.
Yeah.
You know, so it's fun for me to kind of like get a fighter that just got signed and kind of direct them where to go and kind of help them with the language barrier and with like
Yeah.
finding training partners and finding good coaches, you know, like
Yeah.
it's fun. But I feel like my passion is in helping the fighters to understand what their career
Really is. Yes.
Yes.
And I feel like more people need that, because a lot of people get signed and they don't. I was one of those people. I got signed and I was like, well, now what do I do? You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, I didn't know what I was like, okay, I'm signed to the UFC. Like, what do I do now? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's now, if I were to go back, I'd be like, okay, now I have a plan for myself that got signed yesterday, you know, which was yesterday. 2019 wasn't that long ago, you know, but just in the past, 3 years, I've learned so much just from being in Las Vegas, being at the PI and seeing the different things that you guys do, and, you know, being able to see my improvements from strength and conditioning. And even though I'm really bad with my nutrition at the UFC PI, seeing what nutrition can do for you, you know, eating early, because I'm not a breakfast person. I don't like to eat early. But anyways, seeing what that stuff can do for you, and, you know, the physical therapy, like the science behind it all is incredible to me. Honestly, I was just like, yo, this is incredible.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I should have moved here a long time ago.
Yeah. This is the only regret, right? Why didn't I move here a long
Right.
time ago?
I'm like, what was I doing? Why am I what? Oh my goodness.
But the thing is, like, the VP of performance in the UFC Performance Institute, he always say that he talks about like if you are not assessing, you're just guessing, right? So
What is that?
Right.
Explain a little bit what he means by that.
so like if you're not seeing the actual numbers of like how you are doing right now, what's your VO2 max?
I
like
see.
what's you like how much calories you burning rest?
Ah.
Like if you're not assessing, if you're not seeing the numbers,
Then
you're
you're
just guessing.
guessing.
You're guessing. Just like we used to guess, hey, this is how you get ready to fight.
Yeah.
Like of course there's no blueprint for fighting, but like now we have a better idea of like what looks like getting ready for a fight now. Right?
100%.
So the same
yeah.
thing comes when like the science gets involved with the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like we constantly assessing information
Yeah.
and giving the fighters information to really go back to the coaches and the teammates and hey, we can adjust that. Like there is an easier way to get there because we have the numbers. So I love that about the
Yeah,
PI.
I see that too. And the biggest one for me is weight cutting. The biggest improvement has been weight cutting because we've all guessed how to cut weight when we first started. And then compared to now is like the gap is like this big. It's like, yo, what was I doing? What the hell was I doing before? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like what? It's I wasn't even close to what I should be doing.
Yeah.
I wasn't even close.
People don't talk about, but I lost a teammate in Novo União in Brazil, like cutting weight in the hot tub. He died right there. If you look at the news, you're gonna see it. And then another guy, he's still like his life was taken by like cutting weight because we used to cut a lot of weight and do it in the wrong way, And
Yeah.
it's just a funny story about me. I was cutting weight with Renan Barão. I was in the hot tub, and I only had a few more pounds to go, and I always had a friend. Like I always had that friend with me that is a medical doctor. So it was me, Renan, and this medical doctor. So I was in the hot tub, going for like the third round.
Yeah.
And I was like dehydrated as heck, right?
I know how that goes.
And like my left hand and my mouth, it started to like going this way. Like my whole body started to like it was crooked, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. Like what's going on with me? And
Like
and
a
then,
stroke almost?
something like that.
Damn.
And then Hannah was like, oh, it's okay. Just 5 more minutes. You were a warrior.
Yeah.
You can do this. You got to make weight. Just 5 more minutes. And the MD looking, and he goes like, take her out of there right now. And then they started like fighting because Hannah was like, no, she's going to make weight. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't know. It was just like, she's going to make weight. And I was like, yeah, I got to make weight. And
Yeah, your mouth is
and
the
my,
other way.
my hand like going all the way like
Oh,
this. And I
man.
was like, I got to make weight. But then they started fighting. And then the MD took me out of the hot tub.
Was
and
this
I
in
like,
Brazil?
in Brazil.
Okay.
So, bunch of crazy things we done, like passing out during weight
Yeah.
cuts, like stuff we don't really talk about, but it happens, right?
I don't know why it should, so it can happen less. The more you talk about it, the less it happens. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's the cycle of life. The more you talk about something, the less it happens usually. Usually.
Yeah.
Just to bring awareness to it. But that's crazy. I didn't even that's wild.
Wild, but we've done a lot of wild things to get to this point where we have like a bunch of scientists studying and giving us information to do this better and healthier and in a way that you not gonna die.
I know.
So-
I felt like I was gonna die in my last fight. I'm not gonna lie. I have a funny story about that.
Tell me.
But I don't know if I want to.
Tell me.
Oh man, it's so embarrassing, but I'm gonna tell it. So, I had to cut from. It was like I woke up at 37, and somehow I made 25, which I didn't even need to make 25. I had to make 26, But there was no scale. We had to go downstairs, and I was just like, oh shit, I'm too lazy to go all the way downstairs. So we weren't assessing, we were guessing, and ended up um, getting really close. And I by the time where I'd made it, I was just like, I was just like dead. I'm like, man, I have to poop.
I knew it was something about shit.
How'd you know? Oh
When you
my
said it's
goodness.
funny, I was like, okay.
Yes.
Go
And
ahead.
so, oh my goodness. So I'm like, all right, oh man. I start like, I'm like, I gotta poop. So I get up to the bathroom, and anytime anyone goes to the bathroom, the rule of thumb is you have to have the door open when you're cutting, because coaches are with you, and cutting weight is extremely dangerous to do by yourself.
Yes.
And so I sit down on the toilet, and I go to push, and at this point I'm already like so sucked down. I got nothing in me left, and I'm like, ugh. And the next thing I can remember is Jerry and John Wood being like, O'Day, O'Day, O'Day. And I'm like, what? Wait, what happened? I pass out from pushing too hard.
You didn't even have like the energy and
None.
the strength to push out the poop.
None.
That's crazy.
None. And I didn't even like poop. I just pass out. I didn't even achieve my goal of pooping. I just pass out. Completely pass out.
Wow.
And so when you pass out, your body has no idea. Your brain has no idea what's going on, right? So your brain is like a computer. When it finally like processes something is happening, the very first thing that it processes is that I'm pooping. So I wake up and I'm like,
It went back to that.
and so I woke up and I just go, ugh, and I poop it out. And then like John Wood is standing above me, and he's like holding me while I'm pooping in the bathroom. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, why is this man holding me while I'm pooping?
Weird.
Right. And so I'm just like, oh man. And I don't even have enough energy to wipe. And I'm like, John, can you please roll up a couple paper towels for me or some tissue for me to wipe? And he's like, well, you gonna ask me to wipe? No. I'm like, no, I just need you to roll it up for me in the square so I can
In a square, you're very specific.
I'm very specific about how I roll that paper towel up. But yeah, that was an interesting one. But then I ended up going out there and getting a 50-second knockout. So that's the trick. You got to pass out on the toilet.
And ask your coach to roll out the toilet paper
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a square.
See, that's why I feel like after the fight after that I lost, because he wasn't there to roll the toilet paper up for me.
I bet.
Yeah, if he
So
was
next
there
time,
to
Tell your coaches, I'm gonna poop. You're gonna roll out that
Oh
toilet
man,
paper.
I was like, I'm never telling anybody about that on air. But then you brought it out of me. I was like, all right.
Okay, that was fun.
How'd you know it was gonna be about pooping? Could've
I
been
had a
about-
feeling. You know what? We all been there.
Oh man, there's some embarrassing stuff that happens behind the scenes that the fans, all they see every time is our hands being raised or our hands not being raised. But they don't know the behind the scenes of what is going on in the back to lead up to that. There's some crazy shit that I've seen, and I'm just like, oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah,
There's some crazy stuff, but thank God for the UFC PI staff. They're always there on hand, watching you, observing, making sure everything is going good, and they do a really good job of that. And I can I can say I've definitely learned a lot from you guys and everything that you guys are doing, and there's certain people that do weight cuts with the sauna, with the trash bag on in the sauna. That's how they used to do it. And it's just like, man, how have we not had way crazier injuries happen to us way back in the day when there wasn't the staff available? You know what I'm saying? It's like, man.
Yeah, you young and you can push it through, and
It's
But I'll-
wild, man. I'm telling my kids, look, if they tell me they want to go be a fighter, I'm like, no, you're going to college.
yeah, being a fighter is super hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah. But like my passion, and then going back to my passion, my passion in the UFC, it's to kind of like lead the fighters to a better way of using their career for other stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and that this might not be the nicest thing to say, but this is what I think. You know, I think fighting, it's not a career.
No. Yeah.
Fighting is an opportunity.
Yes.
It's what you do on that window that
Uh-huh.
will make you successful or
Yes.
not. You know, sometimes I look at
Platform.
I look at a fighter like a fighter that has the UFC belt, and I look at the manager and I go, okay, who is really the champion? Who is really winning? Who is really making the money right here? You know, like
For real, yeah.
who understands the game?
The game, yeah.
Right? And fighters sometimes we get so, and I'm speaking for
And from
myself
experience,
as
yeah.
well. You know, we got locked in on that dream, on that journey, and we forget about what's next. You know, and I always tell people, you know, like understand you why you do what you do. You know, like for me, fighting was the mechanism for me to get better, right? One of my biggest goals in life is to leave the world and the sport a better place than what I found, right?
Yes.
And fighting was so challenging for me that it made me better every day. When I started thinking about retirement, it was like, what else can I do to challenge me in that same way
Yeah.
for me, in order for me to keep
To-
getting better, getting better as an athlete, as a friend, as a daughter, as a girlfriend, as like a mother to my kids. I want to be better, and I want to wake up to be better every day.
Yeah.
So what else can I do? Because fighting makes you better every day. You get up and you gotta go and grind and get better at that thing. But then you end up getting better at other stuff in your life because
Yes.
you're learning how to deal with people, to deal with like bad situations, you know. So for me, fighting was my mechanism to get to that big goal. And now that I don't have fighting anymore, I still wake up every day hungry and motivated to go work out and to go and take care of my friends and my family and to
Yeah.
make people better, because my goal is, it's big.
Yeah.
It's not just fighting. Yeah, I wanted to be the UFC champion, but like,
You wanted more.
what else?
Yeah, you wanted more.
Right?
Yep.
And you know, and I never chased money, because I feel like if you bring value to the world, money is
will
gonna
come.
it will come.
Yes, it
You
will.
know, so that was like my that it is my philosophy in life. And people ask me all the time, like, you retired and you train more than some of the fighters. I go like, because you know, there is a bigger thing for me. I know that if I lead by example, if I go to the gym and
Yeah.
work out every day, other people will look at that and they, you know, because you see a lot of fighters that retires from fighting and they start hating the sport.
Uh-huh.
They don't want to see the sport
Yeah.
anymore. They start like building bad eating habits. They start gaining weight
Yep.
and they get depressed because they feel like they need that
This-
fighting
yes,
environment still.
yes.
I'm past that.
I
you
was
know?
just gonna ask you if you missed it, but you answered it for me.
Yeah, I'm past. Like fighting was great for my life. The reason why I am here, the reason why I am sitting
Still,
where I
yeah.
am sitting today, the reason why I have that title in the UFC today, the reason why I do good for my friends, the people around me, my family, it's because of fighting, you know. So fighting was great for me, but it was my mechanism to be better, you know. And now my mechanism to be better, it's to help other fighters to get there and to be the real winner.
Yes.
You know, I hate when I see a fighter and a manager and the manager is the winner.
Yeah,
You know,
I
I want to
know,
see
yeah.
fighters winning. And when I talk about winning, because like for a fighter, when we think about winning, we go, okay, if I get my hand raised, I'm winning. But no, what's going to be after that? Like, what are you going to do after that? Like, how much money are you going to make? What kind of life you're going to live? How happy you're going to be after not having that anymore?
Yes.
That's what matters.
Man, you're so passionate about what you do too, and just by how you speak, and you've confirmed everything that I believe and think all the time, you know. But sometimes it's like everyone else around you is saying and acting different than how you are feeling. Because I'm feeling, you know, like it's like, wow, everything that you're saying is just hitting. Like I'm just like, everything that you're saying is resonating with me, and I could see, like I said, you're so passionate about what you're doing, and I love that. Because I always say, and I stole this from an Instagram real. The goal is not to be successful. The goal is to be happy. And I love that you said, money doesn't. It's not. It wasn't about the money. It was about what can I do to fulfill Claudia Gadelha,
Yes.
and I love that.
Exactly. It's not about the money, Unfortunately, people have to get money
To go, yep,
and understand that.
Yep.
People have to go and be successful and famous to understand that
Yep.
money and fame it's not the
Yes.
answer, And I got there. I made $1 million from fighting when I was 25 years old, and I was like, "Hey, holy shit.
Yeah.
I jungle kid, you know, from
Yeah.
like a small town in the
Yeah.
northeast of Brazil. I barely had food in the table.
Yeah.
Barely had food to eat. Moved to Rio de Janeiro, lived in the favela, trained with a bunch of guys, got bit the shit out of, like mentally, physically. 25 years old, I made $1 million. I was like, oh wow. But now I gotta understand, like,
How
how
to-
I want to multiply that money.
Yes.
I want to do better. I want to be better. It's
Yes.
not about that money.
It's
the
about
money
the
is good.
opportunity.
Yeah, and like I lost myself for a second where I was like, oh, I never had anything. Now I want to have nothing. No, I never had anything. Now I want to have everything.
Yes.
But then it didn't last long because right away I was like, okay, I got to do something with that, And I started building a business, and I have a real estate business now.
In here
a
or
multi-million-dollar
in Brazil
real estate
or
business.
here?
So I own 7 properties now.
We're here in Brazil.
3 here and 4 in Brazil.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. Congratulations, man.
This is my side hustle.
Yeah.
Um,
That's not no side. That's a whole hustle. That's a
it's
whole
really
hustle.
good. It's-
Ain't a side. That's a main hustle.
yeah, it's super hard, but I have like 6 people helping me out, and it's just like it's results of me studying and trying to improve myself and trying to get better and trying to get everybody else better around me
Yeah.
better also, because
Yeah.
like one of the first thing I done when I made like really good money was to buy my parents a house.
Yep.
It was like my dream.
Yes. And people, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go. I was
ahead.
gonna say people always. I've heard people say this. I don't understand why the first thing people do when they win or when they get money is spend money on their parents or buy their mama a house or a car. Well, let me explain to you guys. It's because if it wasn't for our parents, we wouldn't be here. And my dad wasn't around. My mom was a dad and a mother. And, I want to give her everything she has sacrificed so much to give me. So that's what that is. And I love that you said that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but it's true. And like for me, like let's say that again. Being poor in Brazil is different than being poor in America.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
my family, I grew up with, like, my mother used to make $300 for 5 kids. My dad was a hustler. He never had an actual job. He was always chasing the money. So whatever my mother couldn't make, my dad would go and chase it and make it. And 5 kids, and we all went to college. Well, actually, not my brother, but other than my brother.
Because he was a guy.
Yeah, he was a guy. Yeah, but a lot of struggles with my brother as well. But
Yeah.
then, my mother raised good kids with values,
Yes.
moral, and principles.
Are you close with your siblings?
Yes,
Okay.
now I am.
Okay.
I had to kind of like get
Guide
away
them?
from my family to kind of
Appreciate them.
not only that, but like my family never understood me,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And I always had that free spirit. I wanted to do crazy things in life.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, if you guys are not gonna understand me, I'm gonna go away, do something great, then
And
I'll
come
come
back.
back and explain what it is.
You didn't have. By the time you came back, you didn't have to explain. I
Yeah.
bet they got it.
No, was one of the greatest things for me as well. Like my parents they had very close-minded, and when I started doing good, I started traveling the world with them. Taking my parents
Yeah.
to Portugal, America,
What?
Argentina. It was like, let's see the world and see what
Wow.
that looks like. So my
Yeah.
parents didn't like fly until they were like 70 years old.
Wow.
They
And you were about
sm-
what, 25 at the time?
20 something, yeah.
Yeah.
So they started to experience life and kind of like understanding about diversity, and um, changing the values about people and the things they believed so much. And I was so proud of that because now my parents have a way better mind. They open-minded. They nicer to people, and I know I was part of that, So I kind of like they raised me, and then I went and raised the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense because it really wasn't their fault. They're just what you know is what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? So they only knew what their parents taught them in their environment their entire life. So why should they know something different that they've never seen or heard of? And so by you exposing them to different opportunities and different changes and stuff like that, it then geared their mind and changed their outlook on things. So that was you. I can argue that you saved their lives.
Yeah, and now my parents are 76, both 76 years old now, and it's so fun because like they lost a lot of weight when they started hanging out with me, and they started like seeing life in a different way. And I'm big in like nutrition and health.
Yes.
And like I eat healthy. You see, like I'm here in a podcast drinking a protein shake.
While I'm here drinking soda. Well, I never drink soda. The only time I drink soda is when I'm on this podcast because after a long day of training, I get exhausted and I need some caffeine. Even though this one says is this no caffeine, but I need some sugar and some caffeine to keep me going. But yes,
there's better choices for you to do that. But
we'll talk about that after the podcast. We will talk about
that. That's not a really good excuse, but I'll let you as light away.
Hey, let's look. Males have been dumb for a while. Let me keep being dumb.
I know you guys are.
We just had these conversations,
Because you couldn't do two things in the same time.
Yeah, I can't. If I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you. If I'm on the phone, I'm on the phone. I can't talk to you and write at the same time. I can't write and be on the phone at the same time.
You're just a guy,
Yeah, I told you. Sleep, sex, and what's the other one? Eating.
Eating, yeah.
That's the male brain.
Yeah, you guys were made for that.
Shots fired. See, this is when we need
procreation.
Chase. This is where you got to come in with the. I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, see. It's so funny because I'm not used to seeing like a humorous Claudia Gadelha because usually like every time I see you, you're in like work mode and you're focused and you're just like moving at like 15 miles an hour through the PI, 15 miles an hour.
Yeah, I have to be serious.
Yeah, I see it because you're super intimidating. Oh my goodness.
Why?
Just because you're always on focus. You're like, I'm not trying to socialize. I'm trying to get stuff done. And I'm just like, I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to socialize.
But you know what's funny? Like people don't realize how hard it is to keep everything we want the fighters to have an amazing experience in the PI. And this is our goal every day. Like on Mondays in the morning, we have a 7:45 a.m. meeting. So Mondays, 7:45 a.m., we have to get ready to give you guys everything you need to understand what's going on with you and how can we help you,
I was supposed to have a meeting today too, but I screwed that up.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I didn't complete my VO2 max. And I did the other two tests. I did all the other ones, but I didn't complete the VO2 and they needed that for the final assessments. And that VO2 max sucks, man.
It does.
I hate that shit so much.
It does.
Oh my goodness.
But we'll give you good numbers.
I know. It's just like, okay, here it's not the VO2, like not even just that. For me, it's like, okay, I have to pretty much take off my whole day when I do VO2 max.
Yeah.
Because when you do the VO2 max, you're done for. It kills you. It kills you for the rest of the day. I'm like, I'm not doing anything after that.
You just use all your energy on the thing.
Yeah, all your energy.
All of it.
For like 2 minutes or so, whatever, however long you're on there, you're on doing that shit for like 2 minutes and you're done for. So I'm like, okay, which day? I'm already going over my notes. I'm like, which day can I sacrifice for this VO2 max? So Clint's messaging me like, all right, get this VO2 max in. I'm like, okay, Clint, I got you. But really, I'm like, okay, which date can I sacrifice? I'm like, jujitsu. I'm like, I don't want to sacrifice jujitsu. I'm like, okay, sparring today. I don't want to sacrifice sparring. I'm like, can we do a VO2 max on Saturday?
No,
no,
you're tired.
I know. And then by that time, I'm already, the male brain. By that time, I've already forgotten about the VO2 max, and I was supposed to schedule that in order for us to do this assessment. Didn't do it. I was supposed to schedule it today. Didn't do it.
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow.
Yeah, because it's like I said. Oh man, I got issues, Claudia. I do.
Let's fix them all. I'm here to fix you.
I'm a very macro person. When I say macro, is the big things. I go hard as a mofo on the big things, right? The little things, which make all the difference, because the little things add up to be the big things, right? But the little things, I'm more like, But the big things, man, I go in on. But I'm building more structure, because as my mom likes to tell me, I'm a slow grower. Like I mature. It takes me a while. Like I'm just now, I feel like I just turned 30. Well, not just, but in January. And my brain, I feel like just clicked, right? I woke up one day and I was just like, oh shit, I understand now. But doesn't mean I have it together. I understand what I need to do, but now I have to retrain myself from doing all the things that I was doing ass backwards yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, it's so hard sometimes to retrain your brain, because your brain has been conditioned to do the same thing for 29 years old. Then you hit 30 and you're like, okay, I got to readjust my brain. But it's like, what the hell?
You can do it. You have two choices. Either
I know I can
retrain
do
your
it.
brain,
I'm competitive as hell.
or blame yourself for the rest of your life for
Hell
not
no.
changing your brain.
Hell no.
So you can do it.
Hell no. Oh, I know I can do it. I'm
Yeah.
competitive as hell with myself. I'm super competitive, and I don't believe in making excuses. You know what I'm saying? I'm strong as fuck.
Good.
I get that from my mom. If there's one thing I get from, I keep saying, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this, and then that's something I lack at is remembering to do certain things, right? But going back to being strong, I get that from my mom, because she drives so hard. She goes hard every day. She's going, you know what I mean? And she's always been that way. But remembering to do things, I'm just like, oh shit. All right. Anyways. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get up with you and get some of your systems, Claudia. For real.
I'm here to help.
For real.
And you gotta be the real winner, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Not the manager, not the coach,
Yes.
not the training partner.
Yes.
Like, look at how much sacrifice the fighters put into this. You have to win.
Yeah.
And people make fun of me. Oh, she's like driving a nice car. Oh, look at her watch. I go like, dude, let me tell you something.
That's all you gotta say.
No, listen.
You shouldn't even say anything else after that. You should just be like, let me tell you something. And that's it. And they should just get it. They should just get it.
I tell them all the time, hey, let me tell you something. If you fought for like over 10 years for a living,
Yeah.
and you don't have a nice car and you didn't invest in your life, you dumb as fuck. All right,
real.
that's what it is. That's what it is, because you have right there a big window and a big opportunity to do great things in your
Yeah.
life. And like I said, fighting, it's an opportunity for you to build your relationships, build your network, and build yourself. Learn a bunch of skills to go out there and kill for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
it's like that saying, you can give somebody a fish or teach them to fish for the rest of their life. And that was the biggest thing. I always thought I get one fish and that fish is going to feed me for my life. You know what I mean? And I realized like that's not it at all. You got to learn to fish and keep on fishing, because it's not about me. It's about your future and what's to come after you and stuff like that. And it's not about you right now. It's about you later on. And I definitely love listening to you, and I love your motivations and how passionate. I keep talking about how passionate you are, and I don't think you understand how passionate you really are. Just by you telling me everything you do and how you say it, I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. Honestly, I'm very proud of you, and that's where I want to be at. And at the end of my career, when I retire, I want to be on the other side of this table telling somebody else the same thing you're telling me.
Thank you. Pleasure to me. And like I said, this is my new mechanism to do, good things for other people, and this is really like my passion. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me here. It was
Yeah.
a pleasure. I love seeing you around the PI. Love watching you fight. So thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. And that's all, guys. What an amazing podcast. Claudia Gadelha, guys. Oh my goodness. I wish this podcast could go for 2 more hours, but I'm sorry. That's all. Gotta wrap it up. My name is O'Day Osborne. This is Claudia Gadelha. And this is Gwaan with O'Day Osborne. And we are out.